Welcome to the Unshakeable Talks with me, Katy. This is where we lift the lid on what entrepreneurs are really going through. The struggles, the myths, the mistakes, and the things we've been sold to. This is where we talk about how we balance business and life. This isn't another podcast teaching strategy. This is where we talk about the raw, real truth about female entrepreneurship and what it really means to run a business and life and combine both of them together. Running a business as a woman isn't harder, it's just different. And it's time we talk about this. There is no cap on what we can achieve, because behind every business, there's the stuff no one dares to talk out loud. At today's episode of the Unshakeable Talk, I'm speaking to Samantha, also known as Sam. Sam is helping high-achieving women to expand their capacity so they can receive more without doing more. And this conversation is super interesting because Samantha also works part-time as a social worker and juggling both her coaching business and her 9-to-5 job. So listening in. Welcome to the Unshakable Talk, Sam.
Hi.
I'm so excited to have you here because your work is something I'm personally also very passionate about.
Yes.
Because you're teaching women to expand their capacity so they can achieve more without doing more.
Yes.
And that sounds like the dream. But before we start talking, you bought a little something.
I have. And yes, I brought some champagne. And I think this probably going to come into a lot of what we talk about. But that is very much, what my work is based on. Because a lot of women will have, I guess, this lifestyle that looks really incredible from the outside. Mm-hmm. Like, people will often buy the champagne, but then they'll keep it in their cupboards. They won't open it. And it's allowing them to hold more and be, able to receive that, I guess, what their champagne sort of 5-star lifestyle is. So should we have a glass?
Yes, we do.
Okay, let's crack this open and hope it doesn't fly everywhere.
Oh, that's okay.
But it's the pop that we all love, I'm sure.
Ooh!
That came.
That was good.
Much faster than I thought it was going to.
So, while you're doing this, you are not just a coach, you're also part-time working still.
Yes. So I work in children's services.
Yeah, and I would really like you to kind of talk to us about this, what your day job is, how does it look in terms of having your coaching business on the side right now, because a lot of women, this is what they're seeking to do, and the financial security which comes with having your daytime job. So tell me a little bit about more, Samantha, behind the background of her coaching business.
Yes, so there you go, cheers.
Oh,
first,
cheers.
Cheers. So I work in children's services alongside being a coach, and that, I guess, at one point in my life was something that I really wanted to do, something that I retrained for about 6-7 years ago, and it was what I thought and envisioned the rest of my sort of career to be, but I guess alongside it being something that I was really aspiring to do, I don't think I fully anticipated sort of the emotional demand that will come with it. So I work in children's services, where obviously on the front line of working with a lot of very difficult circumstances, very difficult situations, and I trained for that sort of 2018, 2019, and then we entered into COVID, and that became a really busy period for children and families, and obviously our work then got quite demanding. So that sort of led me into the path of this, because I was off work. I was signed off, well, actually it was 4 years ago, February, so we're coming up to the anniversary of my sort of stress and burnout, which led me to where I was. But I guess, answer to your question of what that's like now, it's still very demanding, and it sort of led me into this concept of the 4-star and the 5-star sort of success, because I would be running something on the outside of coaching, which was taking a lot of me and demanding a lot of me, and it has done for many years. And I would then be thinking that I've got all this stuff on one side that should be giving me a really amazing feeling, but on the other side it isn't. And it's it is a hard balance to sort of
disconnect, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's like how we should feel from what our life looks like from the outside and how we are actually feeling inside.
And I think we aspire a lot of times for the goals that we think we should have, the material things that we think we're going to bring that feeling, but actually if your body is not at a place where it's ready to feel that, which for many years mine hasn't been, it's never going to bring it. None of those things that you sort of, the next goal, the bigger sort of income or whatever it is in terms of your, you know, circumstances, the champagne lifestyle, it's never going to bring you what you think you need, and it actually all comes from within.
So let's rewind a little bit, because you touched up on your time of being signed off work.
Yes.
Due to burnout. Many listeners will be relating to this. I myself can relate to this. And it is so common, especially for women, to enter burnout.
Yeah.
And it's interesting to speak to you because you're not a mum yet. And quite often burnout is discussed with women who are mothers and trying to juggle business or working life and being a mum. And I almost feel like it's been completely underestimated that it can happen for all of us, especially as women.
Yeah.
And with your job, which was your passion job, you were really passionate about your work. We've been talking about this last year when we first met, and it's an incredible job you're doing. But with that passion comes a lot of responsibility. And would you say that this responsibility, the emotional strain, really was the main key of you entering burnout and neglecting really parts of your life as a result of this?
Yeah, I think that COVID happened and started, and I was actually in 2020 told to isolate. I have ulcerative colitis and Crohn's, so at the start they were like, oh, you've got to stay in, you know, you can't go out, and I was told to isolate for or shield was the term, wasn't it, back then, for like 16 weeks. And for me, I've always been the person who held everybody together. So in the family, I'm the one that sorts everything, the planner, the organizer. In friends, I was always the one like, I'll do it. In sort of my relationship, you know, partner offering to do things. No, it's fine. I've got it. I've handled it. I'm doing it. And I was never able to let go of that. Like, I needed to be the one that I guess everybody needed.
Where did it come from? Do you know? Have you ever thought about this?
Yeah. Obviously, becoming a mindset coach and stuff, you go back to lots of things, don't you, in the past? And being the youngest of four, I think it was needing to still be needed, like siblings going up and you know, being older and going off, and it was like, okay, who do I, like, people still need me. I was so used to being like in that bubble that I needed lots of people around me. And for me, lots of that came from, well, if I'm doing things for them, then I will then be liked and have all those relationships and friendships and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, it was very much, I was, always the one that was holding everything together. And then COVID happened, and obviously we all had to isolate. I was told to shield, and my family don't live near me, so they're about an hour away. And so as well, I would often spend a lot of my weekends driving home, seeing family. You know, siblings started having children, and I was there. I'd go home on a Friday, I'd make sure I'd see them all, and I'd come home on a Sunday, but whilst working in a very demanding and stressful job, so I never had that time for me. And then COVID came around, and again, told to shield, and I just realised actually like how nice it felt to not have to do all that, you know, just to sit in the garden, to just enjoy the sunshine, enjoy that time with my partner, and just be, I guess, me in a way. And because I was shielding, I was also not doing as much work, so I wasn't able to go out and do visits. But then 2021 came around, and everything started to go back to life really, and work got much busier, it got much more stressful, sort of the level of risk that we were dealing with got higher, and so that started taking more of me again. And then the sort of need to be back doing things and seeing people and being the one again that was holding everything picked back up. And for about, I think probably from about summer 2021 to February 22 when I was signed off, I ignored so many signs of burnout and stress, and I wasn't sleeping. I was so emotional, you know, I'm constantly crying. My partner, bless him, was like, what am I going to wake up to today? And I just ignored it, and then that turned into like this uncontrollable eye twitch. And again, I never shared it with people. I never really spoke about. I think obviously my partner knew, but I would just be like, it's busy, work's busy, you know, I'm fine.
So your eye started to twitching.
This eye it was. And in February of 22, I went to the doctors for something completely unrelated. And the poor junior doctor that was just covering that day had noticed it and just said like, are you all right? Mm-hmm. And no one had ever asked me, because I'd never allowed anyone to ask me really. And I just broke down, burst into tears. And he was just scrambling like, oh my gosh, like find her a tissue. And that's when I knew that I wasn't, and I hadn't been for like a really long time. And I think the beauty of it, like you say around that, like not having, I think I really, being around like siblings and like my sister-in-laws, having children and being that new mum, like you say, like and having the stress of COVID, because a lot of people really struggled with it.
Yes.
I enjoyed it because I could be me for a little bit, and I could step back and not have to be the people pleaser that I was. I think I had a lot of guilt then that you had a good time and other people didn't. And then I was like then saying that I was burnt out. And so I also didn't tell a lot of people that I was off work. I was off work for about 3 months. Obviously, people I worked with knew. A couple of my family members knew. But again, I kept it because I didn't want to share with anybody. I didn't want to offload my issues to other people because I was the listener. I was the one that held everybody else's emotions.
It's a big visibility piece though here, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's like because you didn't want people to see that side of you.
Yeah.
You didn't want to be seen of what really was going on.
Yeah.
COVID gave you really a taste of how life could be, how it feels like just to hold yourself and to kind of be a bit selfish.
Yeah.
I always say the word being selfish is like so negative, but it's the most beautiful thing you can do for yourself, to be selfish sometimes.
Yeah. And I think the beauty of burnout, and, you know, like you say, we spoke about it last year on retreat. I know that a lot of the conversations that you have sort of on this podcast are with women who have got to a point themselves where they're either burnout or they're close to it, or they lose themselves some way along the journey, and they wake up one day and be like, who am I now? Like, what happened? Where did all those pieces like fall apart? And I think the beauty of that is that then you can rebuild yourself, but deciding what it is that you want. And when I was off work, I think the universe over that next sort of from 2022 to July 23 started to give me those opportunities. So I fell into podcasts around manifestation and just, you know, learning that you can design the life you love and what that is. And that led me on to finding like a podcast about coaching. And I remember it was August 2023. And I'd manifested things across that year of like parking spaces and, you know, really, you know, refunds of 15, 20, £100 at the most. and at the start of 2023, I'd said that I wanted something that felt like me that year. Like I wanted a purpose, a job, a passion where I could be me and be the best version of me. And then it was leading into summer, I then came across a podcast around coaching, and it was a lady called Judon, and she had a graduate scheme where you could train to be a coach. And I remember sitting on the edge of my bed, and I hadn't mentioned it to my partner, I hadn't mentioned it really to anybody. I was on this little like bubble of self-development. Again, not sharing it because what would people say? What would they think? That whole being seen.
It's not what you do, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's not a general pathway.
No, it's completely out the norm.
Yeah.
And I sat on the edge of my bed, and I had like a day left to do it because it was like £1,000 off, and I sat there and signed up to do a coaching certification. And I mean, it was a large amount of money, you know, it was nearly £3,000 of, yes, I had that, but I didn't have, it wasn't just there to spend, you know, and it was a lot of money. And again, for months, I didn't really tell anybody. It took me 3 weeks to tell my partner that I'd done it. Like, this is what I'm doing.
So what did he say? Because I think for me, I ask this question a lot because I'm really, really intrigued to know, because I know from my own experience, especially when you're quite entrepreneurial, the decisions we are making, the ideas we're having, quite often doesn't make sense to the people around us. And this is where the visibility piece comes in again, where the people pleasing comes in again, because we don't want that confrontation. And it's not coming from a bad place. It just comes from a platform not understanding.
Not understanding, and they want you to be okay. They want you to... Their limits often are what's being shown when they're saying, what is this that you're doing? I'm really lucky that throughout our relationship, and I've changed jobs a couple of times, whilst we've been together, he's always just been, you do you. I know you can do it. Incredible. Yep, go do that. I know you'll do it, and I know you'll do really well in it. And I am really lucky that no matter what I've said, and since then there's been so many times where I've been like, so this is my next like really wild, like this is going to happen in 3 to 5 years time, and I can see he's like, okay, but I also know that he knows she's going to do it. And it is hard because you don't sometimes sit and talk about those big wild dreams in your circle of friends or family, because they don't always understand it or see it and think about the how.
It's not their path. It's not what they do. And I think this is where we met at a retreat last year. And I think this is where places like this come in really handy. I always say, I chased for years the validation or understanding from people around me for what I believe in and what I do. And this came with a lot of frustration because I just couldn't get why they don't get me. In my head, it wasn't that complicated. So I was like, it's not that complicated. Why don't you get it? All I need you is to understand or have a bit of support. And I'm not talking about financial support. I'm talking about like...
Because it's the other stuff, isn't it?
Correct. Yeah. It's not about the financial support. A lot of people who come to me say, but I haven't got the money to do that. I always say the money is the least of your worry, because that will come. But it took me quite a few years to actually understand my expectation was completely wrong about my journey. And I had to kind of really compartmentalize and say, okay, those are my parents, my close families. This is why they're feeling the way they do. This is my husband and my daughter. Obviously, my daughter has needs. She doesn't see why mommy works a lot. She just wants mommy. So just to understand this. My friends... some of them never worked a day in their life, so they couldn't really understand why I want to work, for example. And I really had to find my crowd, my business besties, and retreats and events. This is where we all connect, isn't it?
It is.
And it makes all the difference.
It does, and I think it really helps to... What I found a lot was that, and I think this is huge when you're still in a job and a role and you're trying to balance the two and try to get yourself to where you want to be in your own journey, is that for me, definitely, I knew, and a lot even in the last sort of year, of what blocks I had and where I was sort of holding myself back. And you can very easily be in this sort of circle of people over here and just keep telling yourself those stories. And then you come to retreats or you come to events and you start to get to know people. And first of all, you'll arrive in those rooms, and we spoke about it last year, but every time I turned up last year, I was like, well, actually, no, the end of the year, I was like, I belong here. I fit here. And I could tell as soon as I walked into like those events at the end of the year, my energy was so different to earlier.
Takes a while though, doesn't it?
It does. But I think what really helps is that you start to realise that everybody actually has those same thoughts, those same blocks, those same barriers. So do the people in this side,
absolutely,
that aren't on the same path as you, and it's knowing that actually what work you need to do to move past them, but knowing that actually, well, if they can do it and they're a year ahead of me, or however far ahead in the journey, or there's parts of their life and success that you think actually I want that, it sort of grounds you back to being like, well, it's okay, they're also human with the same doubts.
Sometimes it just needs that. It just needs to normalize situations or feelings
Yeah.
the way we feel, because life is lifing. We can't change this. We can't change the way we feel. We can control how we react to certain situations, but the initial feeling you get, you can't control. I still have self-doubt. I still have fear. We still have comparison, and you can't stop that from happening, especially if you're going through a transition period. And especially when you're in a job which gives you a lot of safety, and you're trying to kind of create your passion business. And what I find, I've never been in this position, I must admit. I've always had I was very fortunate that I didn't have to make a choice between one or the other.
And build up to that.
And build up to this. I always chose to work, which in turn a lot of people don't understand, because they thought, why? You don't have to, why you're choosing to. So there was this struggle, but I can't relate to really having to juggle both, and I absolutely admire this, I must say.
And I think it can be difficult at times I think looking back over 2025, like I started that year, just moved into our new house, dream home. The 2024 had been a real like shift and up level for me, in terms of like finishing my coaching qualification, selling our house, buying, a dream home that completely at the start of 2023 I never would have thought would be the house that we'd be buying. And I think that gave me like holy shit, you can do it. Like all the things that you did to get to the end of that year and have your surroundings, you've done that. And that starting into 2025, I think I had this view of that I was then gonna like catapult through 2025. But I think where I did keep coming up was, yes, it's trying to balance them both. But it's also, I realised, and only the last couple of months of 2025 did I realise it, that everything around me had changed. Like lots of things in my external had expanded and grown so much bigger. But I was still sort of narrating it from the version of me that was stressed and burnt out. Like only recently I think that I can now feel that my body is not, oh my gosh, in fight or flight.
I can definitely see a shift in you too. When we first met when was it, June 2025?
Yes.
Even in December when we met again at an event, that was a huge shift. And that's just 6 months down the line. Do you actually realize yourself like in how big of a jumps you're making in a short period of time? Because I sometimes don't. Like the whole of 2025, I think I was really frustrated with myself that I didn't see that, and I was like, why are you not where you want to be? Why are you not ending the year where you thought you were going to be? And again, there were still so many things that I still hadn't sort of worked through in terms of allowing myself to be that next level. But I think that what I also did is really got frustrated that I wasn't there. And it was only the sort of this, probably we went away in the end of November, and those sort of 2-3 weeks, I think was really like a moment where I'd looked back and was like, oh my gosh, like this is how far you've come. Like I thought, okay, 12 months is a huge time. Like, and I think the problem is as well, when you're in this position of trying to, leave one business and move into another, like you said at the start, a lot of comparison comes up. And social media isn't good for that, because there will be lots of clickbait posts and content of I've made this amount of money, I've done this, I catapulted, my business. My favourite subject to talk about.
Yeah, and you sit there and think, well, why is that not happening for me? But that's, people are sharing that for their reason. And actually it does happen. People will have huge shifts, but they've probably done so much more work prior to that. And I think I was thinking that, okay, I've done this short amount of time now. Why has everything not changed? But this year I've started being like, I've done so much, and I've actually got myself, my body, my nervous system, and like my identity to the place that can then hold it. Because last year I had lots of that. You know, we had a great year. We had many things, didn't we? I had a great year, but I was still running at it and trying to balance them both from a really still a stressed and burnt out way. I think still trying to get through everything, as opposed to actually stopping and realizing where I was and allowing myself to catch up to that and sort of calibrate to where I am now.
I think when you suffer from burnout once, it will always stick with you. It always sticks. There's always going to be moments where you operate from this burnt out version of yourself more until you catch yourself and kind of recalibrate and go down a different direction. But I also know, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think you have gone also through a few pivots within your business in the last year. And if you don't mind, I really would like to talk about this, because pivoting in general is either glamorized, especially in the online industry, or it's frowned up on. I feel like there is no normalization of it. And for me in entrepreneurship, to pivot is so normal. I mean, my husband and I, we call it a flip-flop. And I actually said, sometimes I said we should actually have a flip-flop fabrication business, because we're flip-flopping so often in kind of what we want to do and what we do.
I'm going to steal that term.
But it's what makes, in the end, a great product or great business. It creates what you, in the end, are meant to always be doing. In my personal opinion. So how did you find that period of pivoting, and what do you, like, what kind of feelings are you associating with pivoting?
I feel very lucky that throughout this last, since I qualified really in 2024, I've invested in myself. So I've invested in mentors or coaches, or invested in spaces like where you're able to grow, and there's somebody that's still keeping you grounded in that. Because yes, I think a lot of people pivot, and it is frowned upon in terms of like, just stick with something. You know, are you moving because you're not allowing it to land in the universe to meet you as to where you're at, and like, it's not happening right now and I must be doing something wrong. But I think in it, so last year I found it really difficult, because I think I berated myself as to, why can't you get it? Like, why every time you get some, like, you think, okay, this is it. This is either the client that I want to work with, or the space, the container, the one-to-one that I want to have. It felt very like misaligned, and I think force that on me as I was doing something wrong. But again, as the year's gone on, and sort of over the last sort of 6 weeks of the end of last year, I very much can see that actually it was evolving with me. And everything that I went to last year revealed another part of me that I'm going to, like, the path that I'm on. But
the
also,
parts you needed, really.
and shedding a lot of what I was still holding on to. So that thing around being seen, the thing around actually saying, this is what I want. And it might seem really crazy, it might seem really huge to lots of people, but actually to me, it feels like a really small part of what I'm capable of. And I know that it's going to continue to expand and expand and expand. But in the moment, it is really difficult, because I think you put that down to you doing something wrong, and you not getting it, or why can't I figure it out? Why is this person over here got their, you know, product or service and are smashing it? But I look back on myself of last year now really kindly and say, you are, and I've always said it, my family get really annoyed that like something bad happens, and I'm like, everything is meant to be, like everything is happening at the right time.
You don't see
people,
it in that point.
People want to punch me, like that is not helpful in the moment. But I have always believed that, and that's something that I've always, if I'm being really little, I've always sort of had in my mind, and that I've always felt like I was made for something a lot bigger. And so the pivoting at the time is frustrating, but I think you get to a point where you see why it happened, and it taught you so much. It allowed you to shed what you needed to shed, and now I feel really grounded in who I am as a person, what I need to do to keep me at this level, you know, in terms of all that stuff around you say, like, you do slip back to burnout, you do slip back to those strategies that you thought, you know, constantly doing, constantly people pleasing, bending your boundaries, all that stuff. I know what I need to do to be this version of myself. And you end up.
I think this is the most powerful place where you can be, because also I really feel like this is making us the best coaches, because we know, we walk the walk, we know how it is. Yeah,
and I think you can only help someone through that when you've been through it yourself.
Absolutely.
And I had a big thing of being seen by my friends and being seen by the people that know me as the old version of me, it's still me, isn't it? But from that version of me. And yeah, like I've been like, oh, really.
Well, you were always accomplished. You always got everything done. You got everyone together. You were the glue who keeps everyone.
I am.
And I was always seen like this. I'm still seen like this.
Yeah, I still am. I still struggle. Yeah. Like to let go, and I'm really working on it, and it's a journey. But only when you start to learn that is that then when you start to be able to hold and receive more. Like, you can't do it all. And at some point you need to realise what is the thing that you should be doing, and what then can you let go of to allow people to support you in that.
So all of this work you've done on your own personal journey, how does this translate within your coaching work?
So where I am now, and like saying, I think all the bits that I've been on in the past has allowed me to know where so many women, and we've talked about it in all the sort of events we've had, I'll have these conversations and there'll always be someone who's like, yeah, I've been there, I've done that. And it's you build, when you're ambitious and when you want to achieve something in life, you build it, for most people, from a place where it is, you're constantly doing, you're constantly giving. Like, and at the start there will be, you know, when things are in their infancy, you need to do, nothing comes, like, I think. And one of the issues that I had at the very start of my journey was this whole manifestation thing. I was like, it's just going to arrive. I just need to say it, think about it, and it's coming. And that isn't the case. You have to do. And I noticed that I was doing so much and constantly on the go, constantly overgiving and just, do. That I think a lot of women get stuck in that and they build success, but like we said at the start, they don't feel like what they thought it was going to feel because they haven't allowed themselves to then slow down and enjoy it. And I sort of say it in terms of the 4-star success, where you think you've got a really successful life. Everyone thinks that you're living this really gorgeous, glamorous life. And whatever that looks like, it's not always champagne. Everybody has their own version of what they want success and life to feel like for them. But a lot of women keep running it like it's in its infancy. And like, if I slow down, it's all going to fall apart. And at some point you have to build up and trust that it's not going to. And that's when you then start to feel it and enjoy it and be able to reap the benefits from it and raise the standard of how that feels for you and your family and your friends and whoever it is that you get to enjoy that life with. And yeah, through 2025, it was showing me that I was stuck in experiencing so much stuff that seemed like I was having a really successful life, balancing the two, you know. I'm still in work and I'm building a coaching business, but I was doing it from the ground roots up of stress and burnout, and not allowing myself to do it from the other side of being able to hold so much more by doing less.
So with this realization, where is business going in 2026 for Samantha?
It is going sky high. Let's just put it out there. Universe is listening. So I've now started sort of start of the year, just going back to the foundations of what I want business to look like as well. Because I think when you get into it, you get really carried away, don't you? You run away with the end goal and you don't think about all the foundations of what you want that to look like. So I've completely stripped everything back and started to build my new one-to-one container, and there's lots of things coming sort of later in the year, but I think that it's allowing women as well the space to slow down, the space to be heard, and to a lot of women are running at their like full capacity, and sometimes it needs somebody else to see that, and it's all different for other people. I think you often think, okay, well, I need another strategy to do that. I need another, I'll delegate some tasks, but until you notice where it's coming from, we've spoke about it throughout this, it's always links back to something in your past. There's always somewhere that is driving that for you. And it's allowing women to be able to stop, slow down, realise where they're at their capacity, and strip away shed what they don't need anymore to be able to hold more, and have their version of their 5-star standard, like increase the standards that they're experiencing all around, because otherwise you just keep going.
I think that's
when you hit burnout again and again and again.
And I think this is the most important point. It's like reaching the standard which feels right and aligned for you and not for anyone else.
No.
And that's I think that's a lot of what I do within my work, and that's obviously what you're completely specialized in, and that's such an important piece, especially for us women. But if we could go back to younger Samantha, I mean, not that you're old, you're still super young,
I feel it.
but yes. going back to maybe beginning 20s Samantha, starting working life and starting the entrepreneurship journey. If you could go back and give yourself one piece of brutally honest advice, what would that be?
It would be, it's you, and that is in a few like layers of. For me, I would say it's fucking you who's holding yourself back. You now are stopping yourself from doing what you want to do, and that for me was because I didn't want to be seen. I had lots of things from sort of like teenage years and friendships and stuff like that really stopped me from allowing myself to step into my true path. It is you that's stopping you. Like you can so often, and even like recently, tell yourself that it's not the right time, or it's the environment, or there's so much going on, I don't have the right time, I'm tired. And especially for me with the job, I would come home and I'd be like, I've had a really hard day, I'm really stressed, I'm really tired, I'll do it tomorrow. But you've got to act beyond your emotions of that day, and a lot of people really struggle with that. So it's you that's holding yourself back, and I will say that to a lot of people. It is you. You can put it down to any excuse, but it's you.
It is.
But then on the other side of that, it is you in that I am somebody that I now will really look in the mirror and be like, it's fucking you. You can go. I keep going ding and like cheering myself every time I like move my hand. But yeah, like start being you. Yeah. Because when you go back to who you are, then you become so unstoppable. You become unshakable. Like you are the only one that can do it, but also remember like who the fuck you are.
Absolutely.
Stop dimming your light, stop shrinking your goals, stop all this stuff that you're doing and go and do it, because once you dare to dream, you can do it. Yeah. And I'll say that to anybody, like whatever it is that you're thinking of doing now, you can do it.
You can do it.
And you just need to cut all the crap that you keep telling yourself. So you're stopping yourself, and also you're the only one
who can actually do it.
Who can do it.
Like I always say, it starts and ends with you.
It does.
On this note, thank you for coming for the Unshakeable Talks.
Thank you. Cheers.
To a 5-star standard. If you've been feeling stuck or disconnected from the woman behind your business, this is your sign. The Identity Shake-Up is my new free audio, a short, powerful reset to help you to get clear on the person who you've become and the person your business needs next. Head to the link in the show notes to access it today.